Department of Housing and Urban Development's recent data shows homelessness in America jumped by 18% last year. That has led to more homeless tent encampment sites popping up across many big cities.
Imagine you are standing on Market Street in San Francisco. It is a Tuesday afternoon in 2025. The light bounces off glass towers like mirrors. Every surface looks polished. Every corner looks expensive. A tech executive steps out of a black car, speaking calmly into a headset about numbers so large they don't feel real. Tourists laugh with shopping bags from stores, where one item can cost more than a working family's monthly rent. And then you walk 2 blocks, just 2, toward the Tenderloin. The temperature changes, the air changes, the sound changes. The city that was shining a second ago suddenly feels tired, heavy, like it is holding its breath. The ocean scent disappears, the perfume disappears. You smell something sharper, chemical and stale. You hear coughing that sounds like it has been there for years. You look down and see a person against the wall of a building, worth more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime.
What does the law say about encampments here out on the streets?
These public sidewalks are for the public, and unfortunately it's not a place for people to store their personal belongings.
They are wrapped in a blanket that has seen too many nights. Their hands are swollen. Their face is hard to age because the street doesn't age people normally. It fast forwards them. They are not fully asleep, not fully awake, just stuck, suspended in a place that looks like life, but doesn't feel like living. This is not a scene from a dystopian movie. This is America, and it is happening in broad daylight. What you are seeing is not only homelessness, it is a collision, a poison drug supply, a housing market that has become mathematically impossible for millions, a mental health system stretched thin, and a public that is exhausted, angry, and divided over what solution even means anymore. This episode is not graphic. We will not describe drug use in detail. We will not glamorize addiction. We will not give instructions for wrongdoing. We will speak with care, because real people live inside this story. Welcome to Homeless US News. Today, we are going deep into what is reshaping America's streets in 2025. We are going from San Francisco to the East Coast and back again. We are going into the science of addiction, the economics of rent, the politics of enforcement, and the truth that hides behind the phrase public safety. We will ask the hard question: why, in the richest country on earth, are sidewalks starting to look like a place where hope goes to disappear? And the bigger question, is there any way back? This is the story of the invisible killer.
In San Francisco, it is a crime to be poor, a crime to be homeless?
Absolutely not. And we lead with services. We lead with our values, which is taking care of people.
Part 1. The 2-block cliff. People who don't live here sometimes think the crisis is exaggerated. They see a postcard city. They see the bridge. They see the hills. They see the restaurants. They see the innovation. But San Francisco is a city where reality can flip in minutes. It is not only the Tenderloin. It is not only one street. It is the way the city is built, wealth and survival pressed against each other so tightly that there is no buffer. In many places, poverty is pushed to the edge. In San Francisco, poverty is often right next to the most expensive land in America. This creates a specific kind of cruelty, because when the suffering is right there, people start to treat it like weather. They stop noticing. They stop feeling, or they feel too much, and they turn it into anger just to cope. And here is what gets lost in the shouting. There is not one homeless population. There are many. There are seniors whose rent rose faster than their retirement check. There are workers who still have jobs but cannot afford a deposit, a credit check, and a first and last month payment all at once. There are young people who aged out of foster care with nowhere stable to land. There are people escaping violence who choose the street because a shelter feels unsafe. There are people living with severe mental illness who cannot navigate paperwork and appointments without help. There are people struggling with addiction who cannot recover while sleeping outside. There are families living in cars trying desperately to stay invisible so no one reports them. When people say, why don't they just go somewhere else? The answer is simple. Some already did, and some have nowhere else to go. San Francisco becomes the symbol because the contrast is so loud, because the city can build the future but can't protect the present, and because in 2025, the country is watching San Francisco not as a city, but as a warning. Part 2, the molecule that changed the street. To understand why the street crisis feels different now, you have to understand the drug supply. For years, the primary street opioid in many places was heroin. It was deadly. It destroyed lives. But what dominates the crisis in 2025 is fentanyl, and increasingly, mixtures that make the risk even more unpredictable. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It was developed for medical use in controlled settings. The problem is not the existence of fentanyl in medicine. The problem is fentanyl flooding an unregulated street supply where people cannot know dose, purity, or what is mixed in. Here is the basic science, in plain language. Opioids attach to receptors in the brain that regulate pain and breathing. When a powerful opioid hits the body, it can shut down the drive to breathe. That is why overdoses can happen quickly, and why they can happen even when someone thinks they are taking a normal amount. Now at the second layer, addiction is not a personality flaw. It is a brain and body condition that changes survival priorities. The brain learns the chemical as relief. Then it learns it as necessary. Over time, the body adapts, and without the substance, people experience withdrawal that can feel unbearable. That is not weakness. That is biology. And then, in 2025, there is a third layer. In more places, fentanyl is being mixed with other substances, including veterinary sedatives like xylazine, often nicknamed tranq on the street. This matters because it complicates overdose response and adds severe health risks. We are not going into graphic details, but we will say this carefully. Some mixtures can cause people to remain dangerously sedated, even after opioid reversal medication is used. That means a person can still be vulnerable to cold injury and assault even if they are breathing again. It also means street medicine teams are facing more complex cases with fewer resources. And that leads to the most important point. This isn't only about a drug problem. It is about a poisoned environment where people with the least protection are exposed to the highest risk. When someone has a stable home, a doctor, and support, a health crisis can be treated. When someone is sleeping outside, a health crisis becomes a death trap. Part 3, the numbers that don't match the street. Here is a paradox of 2025. You might see reports suggesting some overdose death totals have declined from prior peaks in certain periods. That can be real. Many communities have expanded access to overdose reversal medication. Many people have been kept alive who might not have survived a few years ago. That is good, but a decline in deaths does not automatically mean a decline in suffering, because survival is not the same as recovery. When people survive repeated overdoses, they may live with serious health impacts. When people survive but remain unhoused, the cycle continues. The emergency doesn't end. It just repeats. Now look at homelessness. National point-in-time counts in recent years have shown some of the highest levels ever recorded. The exact number depends on the year and the method, but the larger reality is unmistakable. More people are being pushed into homelessness, and more people are staying homeless longer. Think about what record homelessness really means. It means the floor gave out for people who were already hanging on by one hand. It means pandemic-era supports ended, and the rent did not come back down with them. It means wages did not catch up. It means a medical bill, a layoff, a divorce, or a rent increase can still turn into a tent faster than most people want to believe. And it means something else in 2025. The visible street population includes a growing share of people with disabling conditions. That includes severe mental illness. That includes substance use disorder. That includes both together. And that group is the most vulnerable to the most lethal supply. So when you hear someone say, "It's getting better," ask, better for who? Cleaner sidewalks can happen while human suffering grows. A downtown corridor can look calmer while the crisis relocates to side streets. A city can reduce visibility without reducing harm. And in 2025, that distinction is the battlefield. Part 4. San Francisco's shift, order, sweeps, and what moves with people. San Francisco has become a case study for what many call the urban doom loop. When offices stay empty, foot traffic drops. When foot traffic drops, businesses close. When businesses close, streets feel emptier. When streets feel emptier, people feel less safe. When people feel less safe, they stay away. And the tax base weakens, which limits the very services that could stabilize the situation. This economic vacuum makes the street crisis worse, and the street crisis makes the economic vacuum deeper. So public pressure rises, and policy changes. In 2025, San Francisco has leaned harder into enforcement in many areas. Encampments are cleared more frequently. Police operations target open-air drug markets. Public works crews move through blocks with pressure washers. The city tries to take space back. Too many residents, this feels like relief. Too many unhoused people, this feels like a rotating eviction. Because a sweep does not just move a tent. A sweep often moves a person's entire survival system. Their ID, their medication, their phone, their paperwork for housing, their connection to a caseworker, their routine, their fragile sense of control. And when people are forced into constant motion, something dangerous happens. They use a loan more often because they're hiding. They avoid outreach because they're exhausted. They miss appointments because transportation and stability are gone. They lose trust because the street teaches them that help comes with a cost. Street clinicians have warned for years about this pattern. When you scatter people, you can unintentionally increase risk because the most dangerous moments happen out of sight. Here is the key point. A city can make a block look better by morning, but if there is no path into housing and treatment behind that action, the problem doesn't end. It just changes shape. And that is why the central question in 2025 is not, do we sweep or not sweep? The question is, what happens after? If after is jail or street, repeat, then the city is not solving anything. If after is housing with support, treatment access, and stability, then the city has a chance. And that chance depends on capacity, beds, staff, case managers, housing units, real doors. You cannot enforce your way into capacity. You have to build it. Part 5. Kensington and the East Coast Mirror. Now shift across the country. If San Francisco is the symbol of the housing and inequality collision, Kensington in Philadelphia has become a symbol of the drug supply and public health collision. For years, Kensington has been known for visible street addiction. But in 2025, many communities like it are facing a harsher reality. More potent opioids, more unpredictable mixtures, and more serious health complications. Cities respond the way cities often respond. They clear encampments. They create barriers. They move people from main corridors into side streets. Officials can point to cleaner sidewalks and call it progress. But residents and outreach workers often describe something else. Dispersal. When large street populations are scattered, harm doesn't vanish. It relocates into harder to reach places. Abandoned lots, alleys, abandoned buildings, isolated corners. This makes outreach harder. It makes overdose response slower. It makes healthcare harder to deliver. And when political pressure grows, the debate becomes polarized. One side says, we need order. The other says, we need care. But order without care becomes cruelty. And care without capacity becomes paralysis. So the honest truth is that cities need both. They need street safety. They also need housing. They also need treatment access. They also need mental health services that are real, not theoretical. Because you cannot punish your way out of trauma. And you cannot lecture someone into stability while they are sleeping on concrete. Kensington is not only Philadelphia's story, it is a national mirror. When we treat a public health crisis as a visibility problem, we create a cycle that looks like action, but functions like displacement. Part 6, Housing First, the Funding Cliff, and what actually works. Now we talk solutions, and we tell the truth even when it is inconvenient. The most powerful predictor of homelessness is housing cost, and the most direct way to reduce homelessness is housing. Not as a prize, not as something people must earn while living outside, but as the foundation. That is the logic behind Housing First. Stabilize people in permanent housing, and then provide the services that help them stay stable. When it is well-funded and well-run, it works. Cities that built coordinated systems, combining housing placement with support, have shown major reductions in chronic homelessness. But Housing First has an enemy that never sleeps: math. If rents rise faster than wages, the flow into homelessness can outpace the flow out. If subsidy funding drops, placement slows. If supportive housing isn't built at scale, waitlists grow. If mental health systems remain under-resourced, people cycle. In 2025, many communities are facing a funding and capacity challenge. Pandemic-era emergency funds are gone. Construction costs are high. Local budgets are strained. Public patience is thin. This is the moment when countries and cities reveal what they truly believe. Because homelessness is not destiny, it is policy. When safety nets shrink, more people fall. When housing supply is constrained, prices rise. When treatment access is limited, crises become chronic. When we criminalize survival, people become trapped. So what actually works when we're serious? It looks like this. Prevention first. Keeping people housed is cheaper and more humane than rehousing them later. Rental assistance, eviction diversion, and legal support matter. Real treatment access. Detox and stabilization cannot be a 3-month wait. Treatment has to be reachable, especially for people living outside. Street medicine and mobile care. Bringing health care to the street saves lives and builds trust. Permanent supportive housing for people with severe mental illness and chronic addiction. Housing with on-site support is often the difference between cycling and stability. Accountability with compassion. Funding should follow outcomes, but people should never be treated like disposable data. And yes, we also need public safety. But public safety cannot mean disappearing people. Public safety has to mean fewer people dying, fewer people suffering, fewer people living outside, more people connected to care, more doors that lock. That is what real safety looks like. Outro, the country we are becoming. Let's come back to where we started. Market Street, 2 blocks, a city that can build the future and still leave people behind in the present. In 2025, America is being tested, not by a foreign enemy, not by a shortage of wealth, but by our willingness to treat the most vulnerable as human. Because the invisible killer is not only a substance in the drug supply, it is also indifference. It is the slow cultural decision to step over suffering and call it normal. It is the habit of turning people into a nuisance instead of a neighbor. It is the lie that homelessness is always a choice, when the truth is that for many people, it is the final chapter of a long story of rent, illness, trauma, and systems that failed them one by one. And yes, communities deserve clean streets. Yes, communities deserve safety. Yes, children should not have to navigate chaos on the way to school. But we do not get to build safety by building cruelty. We do not get to protect a city by breaking the people who are already broken. So here is what you can do right now, even if you are not powerful. Support local outreach and housing organizations that show real results. Speak up when your city debates housing and treatment sites. Ask your leaders simple, measurable questions. How many people will be housed this year? And where is the funding? Challenge stigma when you hear it, especially when it is spoken with confidence. And most of all, practice the smallest form of resistance against dehumanization. Acknowledge people. A hello, a moment of respect, a reminder that they exist. Because connection is not soft. Connection is survival. This is Homeless US News. If you want us to investigate what is happening in your city, tell us in the comments. Share this video with someone who still believes the crisis is exaggerated. And if you stay with us, we will keep reporting these stories with facts, humanity, and the refusal to look away. Because a country's true measure is not how clean its sidewalks look. It is how many people it refuses to abandon.